Hey, what's up guys? Matt here with a short video Devo that I hope encourages you. Recently I came across this meme of the one and only Chuck Norris. For those of you that are not aware of the Chuck Norris facts, first off, you're missing out. But secondly, they took the internet by storm about 15 or so years ago. And what they did was they took Chuck Norris, the man, and they ascribed godlike status to him. They gave him the ability to do impossible things, superhuman strength, superhuman abilities, right? And they made these jokes, referred to them as facts. They were so funny. Let me share a few of my favorites with you, if you don't mind. First one goes like this. Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice. Another one goes like this. Chuck Norris doesn't read books. He stares them down until they give him the information that he wants. Another one goes like this. Superman wears Chuck Norris pajamas. And probably my favorite one goes like this. Chuck Norris was once bitten by a rattlesnake. After 5 excruciating days, the rattlesnake died. And now the most recent one that I came across goes like this. Chuck Norris encountered the coronavirus. Now the virus is in quarantine for the next 2 weeks. So funny, right? The man encounters a virus, and now the virus is in quarantine. That's how absurd these things are, and they're so funny. So what do we know? We know that Chuck Norris doesn't have all those strengths, those abilities, right? He's not all-knowing, he's not all-wise, he's not all-powerful, he's not God, right? But Jesus is. Jesus is all-knowing. He is all-powerful, right? Why is that important? Why do I even mention that? Because the times in which we live just seems to be just crazy, right? Totally chaotic, out of order, just nothing's in control. It's important for us, especially in those times, to look to the one that is in control. And how do we know that God is in control? Well, we look to his word. Where? Well, let's take a look at Colossians chapter 1, verse 17. It says that in him, talking about Jesus, all things consist. Now, what does that mean? It means that Jesus holds all things together. So guys, listen. So as we look out into this world and people are trying to figure out how do we respond to this coronavirus, it can seem kind of confusing, right? We don't know what's going to happen the next day. We never know what's going to happen the next day. But now especially, it's in the forefront of our minds. It's important, so vital that we look to the one that the Bible says holds all things together. So let's take a look at some of the things that Jesus is holding together right now. First, let's take a look at our sun. It's 93 million miles away. 1.3 million Earths could fit inside of it, yet it's considered just an average-sized star. There are so many other stars in the universe that we are aware of, probably more that we are not aware of at this time, that absolutely dwarf the size of our sun. And one of those that we are aware of is Arcturus. 15 billion Earths could fit inside of Arcturus. 17,500 suns. This thing is massive. Just to put it into perspective, it takes about 2 minutes for the sun to fully set once it's touched the horizon. Guess how long it would take Arcturus to set? 52 minutes. Talk about a major time commitment. You better grab your comfy chair, your favorite drink, because you're going to be in for a long, long show. But guess what? Still not the biggest. There's one called Beetle Geese that absolutely dwarfs Arcturus. Now, Beetle Geese, 1.3 billion suns would fit inside of Beetle Geese. This thing is huge. If Beetle Geese was the average sports stadium, the Earth would be the size of a pearl, and the sun would be the size of a mango. It's massive. If Beetle Geese replaced the sun in the center of our solar system, it would extend into the orbit of Jupiter, totally engulfing every other planet before Jupiter, right? Including Earth. This thing is huge, but guess what? There's more. The next one is Canis Majoris. Now this one is absolutely freakishly big. 9.3 billion suns would fit inside of it. 70 quadrillion Earths would fit inside of Canis Majoris. It is absolutely massive. Now those are just some of the big stars that are in our universe. They believe that there's about 1 billion trillion stars in our universe today. Now, honestly, that's a number I can't totally comprehend, but I take great comfort in this verse. It's Psalm 147:4. It says, he counts the number of the stars and he calls them by name. You know what, guys? I have 4 daughters, and I can never remember their names. It's crazy. Now let's talk about some of the small things that Jesus is holding together right now. Let's talk about the subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons. The first law of electrostatics in layman's terms says this: like charges repel, unlike charges attract. Now, there are plenty of elements that have more than one proton. So if the first law of electrostatics says that like charges repel, yet there's more than one proton in that element, then it should explode. It should repel, right? But it doesn't. There's something that's holding it together. Now, the experts, the wise men around us, refer to this by a number of names. God's glue, the strong force, nuclear force. They acknowledge that something has to be holding it together. Well, guess what? Colossians 1:17 again says, in him all things consist, or he, Jesus, is holding all things together. So whether it's a star that's 200 million miles away that shines 60,000 times brighter than the sun, or if it's an atom within you that you can't see with the naked eye, in between those big things and those small things, it's you and me. Now listen, in creation, we're unique. We've been given something that the rest of creation doesn't have. What is that? Free will. The rest of creation simply responds to Jesus, whereas we, humans, we have the choice as to whether or not we're going to respond to him. Now, maybe you're in this coronavirus season and you've lost your job. You don't know when your next paycheck's going to be. Maybe you're nervous. You're fearful. Maybe you have a loved one that's been infected with the virus and you don't know what the outcome's going to be. Maybe you have loved ones that are in a state that has a lot of confirmed cases, like say New York or New Jersey or Washington or California. And our minds can just keep going down a path of what's going to happen. Again, everything's out of control. Everything seems to be in chaos. We need to choose to look to the one that the Bible says holds all things together. So I want to leave you with this verse right here. John chapter 16, verse 33, Jesus says, these things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Now listen, Jesus is there. He's in control. He's available, he's willing, and he's able. Will you run to him today?